sides, and your main dish cooked on the Kamado Joe Jr. all at the exact same time with the help of a very special accessory that I can't wait to share with you. That's exactly what we're going to do today. Hey, I'm James from Smokin' Dad Barbecue, and if you're like me, about a year ago I decided to take control of my health, and I still wanted to enjoy barbecue. And so cooking on the barbecue and using staples from the keto diet, I was able to lose 50 pounds last year. And some of you have asked, hey James, what are some recipes that kept it interesting as well as keto compliant? And so I'm going to be doing a cooking keto series for the month of January, sharing some of my favorite recipes that can help get you through the month and achieve your goals. So today's recipe is a family favorite. We're going to be doing bacon wrapped pork tenderloin along with our side dish of lemon garlic asparagus. So our first step is to get a little color, a little sear on our pork tenderloins. So our very first order of business is to get a fire going in our Joe Jr. And I'll show you that accessory, our setup, and then take you inside for everything we got to do to get ready for this one cook wonder. Let's get going. Okay, so let me show you what's going to be unique and special about this cook. And so I've been wanting to get one of these again for a long time. I bought this accessory back when I had a Big Green Egg Mini Max. It's made by Ware and it fits both the Mini Max as well as the Kamado Joe Jr. But sadly, when I sold my Big Green Eggs, this went with it. So as you can tell, this is a brand new one that I've already screwed into my grate. And so what this allows us to do is add a second layer grid to our Kamado Joe Jr., especially when you're cooking direct. If you have the raised heat deflector plate in, it gets a little tight hitting our temperature gauge probe, so we don't want to use that, which is why I'm cooking direct today. But we're also going to be throwing in a 10-inch Lodge cast iron skillet that's going to have our asparagus, and cooking above it with the bacon and pork dripping into that is going to be our bacon wrapped tenderloin. So this is going to give us our side dish, our main dish, and it's going to come together awesome. For smoke, I wanted to share something. This is a gift a friend got me actually, but it's these bourbon infused smoker bricks. These have been killer inside of the Kamado Joe Jr. where I've got a lot less space. And since we're going to be doing a bit of a bourbon glaze to go on our pork tenderloin, I thought the bourbon infused smoker bricks would be an awesome addition. So let's get this out, add some charcoal, and start our fire. Oh, I wish you could smell these. The smell and texture is awesome. So I'm gonna go with about 4 or 5 of these, just scattered on the bottom of my kick ash basket. And then add charcoal and start our fire. So just move the camera a little closer so you can see, we can still see our air holes around the side, so we're not overfilling it, and we're just covering those smoking pieces of wood on the bottom. I'm gonna grab a torch and start our fire. Okay, and just like that, we've got some coals going. So I'm gonna install the bottom grid only, and we'll go inside, get our pork tenderloin ready for the sear. Okay, so I've already cleaned and stemmed our asparagus and fit them into our Lodge cast iron pan. So that is ready for later. For a bit of a binder, I'm going to use some jalapeno stout mustard, mostly just because there's no sugar and a little bit of kick. So that's gonna be our binder. And then I'm gonna go with some Montreal steak spice seasoning for our outer layer. Okay, and as quick as we could get that mustard and seasoning on, we are up to just over 600 degrees Fahrenheit on our Joe Jr. So we're gonna cook with the dome open since we just wanna get some color on the outside and not actually cook our tenderloins. So I'll take you fast forward while we do some inferno mode action here. And then we're gonna close our bottom vent down to just barely about a pinky finger's width and install our top vent on the smokeware cap, which will, if you haven't seen by the way, it slides on and off. I don't know if I've ever shown that. So when you want controlling your temperature, it's on. If you want max airflow, it just pops off. If you were using the daisy wheel, you would have that right now in the max open position, and we're ready to close it. You'd close it with all the pedestals showing open. Let's go ahead and sear our 2 tenderloins. Okay, so that's looking good. We've got some color, some texture. Let's go ahead and pull these off and we will slow things down and come back finishing these indirect, about 400 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay, I'll just also take the opportunity now to install our second level. Close that bottom vent to one finger. Drop this on and go for about a 1/4 inch of opening. Okay, so for this part, we're just going to lay out strips of bacon and then roll them around our tenderloin. I'll take you fast forward, that'll all make sense. All right, we've cooled down to about 450 degrees. We still want a little bit further to go, so we'll just let this hang out at this tight vent position for a little while longer. So what we're gonna do now is get our 2 bacon wrapped tenderloins on the top grid, and then we'll go back inside. That'll give us time to prep our side dish, since that only needs about 20 minutes or so on the grid. So let's get these on. I've also got my meter probe here, which I'll slide in just to help keep track of things while we're inside and don't miss anything and risk overcooking it. Okay, so we've got our garlic powder and salt. We'll just mix those together, make a quick little rub. And then we've got our melted butter and lemon juice. That's ready to hit the grill. I nearly forgot the best part, Parmesan cheese. So that's about 1/3 of a cup. So now we're ready to go on the grill. Okay, let's go ahead and get our side dish on. We'll spin this out of the way so we can slide our Lodge pan in right underneath and keep on grilling. Wait, that's Pitmaster X's line. Keep on cooking. Okay, so just quickly inside, I've also melted up some butter and bourbon for our glaze on the bacon. Just gonna go ahead and brush some of that on and turn up the heat here to finish. As we're getting close, we're reading around 126 degrees Fahrenheit according to the meter right now. And so if we need to, we'll pull the pork off and finish it direct just to finish crisping up that bacon if we don't quite get there in time, but it's looking pretty good. This is just about a tablespoon of butter and a tablespoon of bourbon. I'm using some that I actually smoked with the cold smoker. I think it'll add a nice flavor. I'll link to that video if you haven't seen it yet. It's a good one. All right, let's let those finish up. So if it wasn't already obvious, finishing your bacon over a live fire, probably not the best idea unless you want Inferno mode on, level 10. So that's why there's no camera shots of just finishing, because I really quickly had to get everything off so that it didn't turn to a black crisp. So we got it off in the nick of time. It all looks great. But in hindsight, I wish I treated this more like a jalapeno pepper, where I pre-cooked that bacon for about 10 minutes in the oven, put it in a cold oven, 400 degrees, turn it on, and then wrap our pork, because that would have allowed it to get that outside doneness that I was looking for without overcooking our pork. The meter says this is right on the money. The slice I've got behind me looks right on the money. Let's go ahead and do our taste test and share with you the results of this recipe. So I've got the nice end piece here with lots of bacon. Looks juicy as anything. Let's go for a bite. Well, despite the flare up, that is on the money. Perfect doneness. Those layers of textures that we're getting from our salt brining ahead of time to then our crust that we got just quickly before we wrapped it. And who knew? Inferno mode saved the bacon, gave it that perfect level of crisp. And our keto-friendly basting solution of butter and bourbon just has that little hint of savory smokiness to it. It is really, really good. let's try the asparagus. Man, I love a diet where butter and bacon are allowed, because these two dishes just go together perfectly. Really, really great combination of flavors. So I hope you really enjoyed this recipe. I've got another series of these coming out for the balance of January, sharing some recipes, whether they go perfect or we learn something along the way like we did today, which is use the same technique as our jalapeno poppers for the bacon, just to avoid the flare up. Normally when I've done this, I've done it, you know, indirect, maybe in the Classic or the Big Joe, and you're not getting the direct fire. And so that was just the one thing I didn't really think through of doing the 2-tier cooking system on the Joe. But we wanted to see if we could cook our entire meal on the Joe Junior, and I'd say we absolutely nailed it. I love this accessory from Smokeware, whether we're doing kind of ideas like today, where we're stacking some meals, or doing some chicken wings and we want to fit them all on the Junior. It's a great accessory for that. I hope you really enjoyed today's video. If you did, please let YouTube know by smashing that like button, and let me know by hitting subscribe to catch future videos. Until next time, I'm James from Smokin' Dad BBQ signing off. Don't be afraid, fire it up.